Bonjour, mes amis, and welcome to Gourmet Cooking. We're going to take a little trip to Italy tonight to do a little Italian food. Really, it's a trip to New Orleans. This is a recipe that was done by a wonderful lady by the name of Madame Theresa Turci, who had a restaurant in New Orleans many years ago. Alas, both the lady and the restaurant no longer are around. But we do have a little bit of memory in this wonderful recipe, and it is lasagna, the wide flat noodles boiled and then layered with two sauces, a bechamel sauce and a tomato sauce. But in between are layers of fried eggplant. It was a dish that was done in New Orleans on the Fridays during the days when meat was not eaten and you ate either vegetarian or seafood. So this is one of the dishes that we managed to carry forward from this very dear lady. I'd like to show it to you tonight. We're also going to have some strawberries and Marsala wine. It's a nice dessert. And a little salad, very different, is going to be some hearts of palm with a nice little dressing on it. Now, the recipe for the lasagna and the strawberries, for those of you that are interested, are on page 116 and 117 of Volume 3 of Gourmet Cooking. Now, the recipe for the salad is not in any of the books that we've already published, but it will be in Book 4 when that's released and in the near future. All right, let's proceed with our lasagna. Lasagna is made up of 3 or 4 recipes. You have the tomato sauce, the bechamel sauce, and the fried eggplant, plus the boiled lasagna. So we're going to start first with the eggplant. Let's get that underway. And that's going to require for the whole lasagna about 5 what I would call nice medium eggplant. They're very pretty. We're simply going to cut this end off, and then we're going to slice the eggplant. I like to slice it on the diagonal so I get larger slices, but about 1/4 of an inch slice. So we cut the eggplants into these 1/4 inch slices, and then the next step will be to place those into a bowl or on a plaque and sprinkle those with salt. That's going to draw out a lot of the moisture, and it's going to take any bitter taste that sometimes accompanies the eggplant. You let that set for 20 minutes, and when you do, you have the eggplant, and if you can see all that liquid that is accumulating from those few pieces of eggplant. The eggplant gets very pliable, and we simply want to take those, though, after they've marinated in that salt for about 20 minutes. We want to simply dry those off, removing some of that excess salt, and of course as much of the water as possible. Now we want to do that because we're going to fry these in a little olive oil. Now obviously I'm not going to do 5 eggplant now. That just takes much too long on camera. We've already done most of them. But to illustrate now, after we've had the eggplant for 20 minutes with the salt and we've drained them, we're going to put those in hot olive oil, which isn't hot. Almost. It's coming up now. So we want to fry those. It take about 2 minutes, and we'll turn those and let them brown. And we'll have the eggplant that we need. Now you can see here in this platter, I already have layers and layers of the eggplant all fried. And what it does, it takes the bitter taste out and makes this a very nice sweet taste to the eggplant. The other thing that we have to do is boil some lasagna. Now the lasagna, as you can see, is a wide flat pasta, and of course this is dried. You can make your own, but this is quite adequate. Now you need to boil this in boiling salted water, lots of boiling salted water, for about 15 to 18 minutes. You could have to test it. When you do, you then drain that, wash it in cold water to stop the cooking, and then drain it again and dry it a little bit. And when you do, you have lasagna noodles all cooked. And as you can see, that one noodle kind of expanded. In fact, it's so tender it's coming apart here. But that one noodle really did expand. But we do have our noodles all prepared, and that's nothing more than boiling. Actually, you follow the package directions, and you can't go wrong. In the meantime, let's go back to our eggplant. They're simmering away here in this oil. Let's give those a turn. And we'll add those to the ones we've done already as soon as these brown a little bit more. And we will have our eggplant. That's one of the elements of this dish. Now, another element is going to be a basic tomato sauce. Now, that's going to require a number of ingredients, so let's get on with those. We have some oil, olive oil, heating in this pot, so it'll be nice and hot. And we want to take 2 cups of onions, and we want then to chop those. We've already got the other parts done. That gives us the 2 cups we need. That was 1 very large onion, which gave us the 2 cups. We're also going to need a cup of celery, and we want that to be cut into small pieces. And I saved 1 little piece just to illustrate the celery chopping. And we need 1 cup of carrots chopped. Now, I have a carrot here. I'm going to cut 1 sliver off, slide it aside, and then julienne it. Now, that gives me a flat side so that the carrot won't slide all over. And then I cut, it wants to fall over, cut this into about 1/4 inch slices. And then cut that again, and we have then julienned the carrot, but now we want that to be into small dice. So we have now our 1 cup of carrot. So we start our process with 1 cup of, the 2 cups of onions. We start those sauteing in the oil. We want to add the carrots and the celery. So we have our aromatic vegetables, which we will saute in the olive oil as the basis for our sauce. Let's clear up this board of this little bit of vegetables we have here, and turn our vegetable in the oil. Now, while we're here, I think we can go to our eggplants, because I think it has just about cooked enough. It's browned nicely. We want to put that then onto some paper towel to drain even further, and that will be ready for our lasagna when we start putting it together. All right, we have then our eggplant, and that was 5 medium eggplants that we did all together. And we have our vegetables sauteing. The other sauce we need is a bechamel sauce. A bechamel, or a bechamella in Italian, is nothing more than a basic white sauce. So we're going to start that first with 6 tablespoons of butter. Now we need to get that melted, and we'll come back to that. Now we cook these for about 2 or 3 minutes until they are wilted a little bit, and then we're going to add to those some nice tomatoes. I am using nice canned tomatoes in preference to the fresh ones, because at this time of year we happen not to have really good tomatoes. The canned can be so much better. Now we have those, and they're cut into quarters, and they're nice. We've drained them for most of the liquid that was in the can. So we're going to take that now and add that to our vegetables. All right, we can move that oil off the stove. We've turned the fire down, but it's still hot. And we want to let this cook for about 5 minutes, and then we'll proceed with that. Let's go to our bechamel sauce. We have the butter melting. We'll add the 6 tablespoons of flour and blend those together. The butter is not quite melted, so we'll let that come up to heat and melt a little bit. So we'll stop a moment with the lasagna and go to our dessert, and that's going to be some nice, beautiful strawberries. Fruit is a very common dessert in Italian cooking, and it's a very simple dessert. We're going to take these nice strawberries, which we've cut into halves. We're going to add about 4 good tablespoons of sugar. And that is going to cause those strawberries to bleed a little bit and add some juice, and the sugar will melt, and that will give us a nice sweetness that we want. But the most Italian part of this is the other ingredient, and that is about a half cup to 3/4 cup of a nice Marsala wine. Marsala, this is a sweet wine. It's a dessert wine, usually drunk at the end of a meal with a dessert or in the dessert. And that's going to add to the sugar and give us, and let these marinate for a good while. The strawberries are very cold. We had them in the refrigerator. Ordinarily, I would put these away in the refrigerator until I got close to the meal, and then I would bring them out. Let's go back to our vegetables. And as you can see, they've cooked nicely. Now, our butter has melted. Let's go to our bechamel sauce. And the other ingredient we need to go here is 3 cups of milk. We're going to stir that with a whisk and then let that come back to the boil and then let that thicken. And we'll add seasoning to that. Whoops. Now, we have 2 other ingredients we want to add to our tomato sauce. We have 2 tablespoons of capers and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. It's a blend of about 4 herbs, and that's basil and I've forgotten all the specific ingredients, but it comes under the name of Italian seasoning. So we add that to our sauce, which has cooked for about 5 minutes. We want to take that now over to the food processor, and we want to puree this mixture. We're going to have to do it in 2 batches because there's a good bit of vegetable here. And here's our lid. Let us puree this. Let that run for about a minute or so, and let's go back to our bechamel sauce and see that's beginning to come up to heat now. We can, that flour will thicken very shortly. Back to our tomato sauce. All right, we take this puree and pour that into a container, and then we'll add the rest of the puree. And we puree this. Now, when we finish this sauce and our bechamel, we have all the elements for our lasagna. So let's start putting those together. There's our sauce. Put that over here. Bring the sauce up here. Let's take a nice lasagna pan, which I have here, and we have some olive oil in there, which we want then to coat the entire sides and bottom with this olive oil. And then we're going to start layering our various ingredients. Bringing our eggplant over. Let's check our bechamel, which will be ready in a moment. It's thickening, and we'll be there in a moment. Meantime, we can start our lasagna. We take and put a layer of lasagna. You can take the broken pieces on the bottom. That's just fine. You want to save some nice pieces for the top, of course. And let's layer our lasagna. And the first thing then we're going to put is a small layer of our vegetables, our nice sauce. We don't want a lot, we just want a thin layer, and then we're going to place eggplant slices, make a layer of the eggplant, And now is when we need our bechamel. Let's see if that's ready. It's just about there. Let's add only a little salt and some black pepper to our sauce. It could thicken a little more maybe, but I think it's more than adequate for the present because we do want it to pour a little bit. We simply put a little layer of this over the eggplant. And of course we repeat this process now. Lasagna, you want just layers of pasta. They don't have to be too neat on the inside. And then we want some of the tomato and the eggplant, which we need to bring closer here. So we have eggplant. Now this gets to be repetitious, but I don't know of any way that we can build layers except one at a time. So placing our eggplant on top of the tomato sauce. And as you can see, I had quite a bit of eggplant. We then add a layer of the bechamel. Remember, we don't want a lot of sauce. We can always serve sauce on the side and add that at the table. You want enough that this will just bind together, and hopefully these slices will cut into individual squares in a nice, clean manner. And if you put too much sauce, it will be very runny and it will not work. Again, let's see if we can get one more layer of this, and we'll wind this up. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the eggplant. As you can see. Now, the objective here is to end with a layer of the bechamel sauce. So we're going to put a layer of the tomato. And we'll final layer of lasagna. And then the bechamel. Now we put a layer of the bechamel, spreading it around, and the final ingredient will be a little Parmesan cheese to help this brown. Now that was a little slow process because of the layering that we had, but a little patience and we get there. All right, we have only the salad to put together, and then we can serve our meal. Let's put our lasagna in a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes, and that should give us a nice, wonderful, cooked, browned lasagna. Let's do a salad quickly, and that salad is going to be hearts of palm. These are canned, of course, and we simply take the heart of palm, cut it in half, and cut it into quarters, and arrange them. I've chosen to arrange them in stacks like this. You could take the others and cut those in rounds any way that you like and simply add those around. Now for a quick dressing for this, we need to take here it is. We need the juice of 1 lemon, 8 anchovy fillets that have already been chopped, and a little bit of parsley, about a tablespoon of parsley. To that we add olive oil, blending that. A little black pepper. Now salt's not necessary because we have the anchovies are salty. And then we simply pour this wonderful mixture over these beautiful hearts of palm to give us a very unique and a very flavorful salad. Let's clear up our little front here and present our salad. We have that beautiful hearts of palm with that wonderful anchovy and lemon juice dressing. Now, obviously, we can't wait for that lasagna to come out of the oven. And because when it does, it must rest after it comes out for about 15 minutes at least. So we have already prepared a nice lasagna, the same one we did on camera, and it has been resting since we started the show. We're going to cut that in 8 to 10 pieces and serve that in the dining room shortly. So we'll put our lasagna out, and the only thing we need to do now is to serve our strawberries. And here we go. I'm looking for a clean spoon. Want to put that into a nice berry bowl, one that presents well. And we have these beautiful luscious strawberries marinated with the sugar and a sweet Marsala wine. It's a refreshing taste. So our meal tonight consists of our lasagna. Remember, the lasagna is made up of several recipes. You have the bechamel sauce, the tomato sauce, and the fried eggplant, as well as the boiled lasagna. After that, it's a layering and an assembly situation, and you bake that for 30 minutes in a 350-degree oven. The strawberries, of course, very simple, but it will be refreshing after the nice heaviness of the lasagna. And then the hearts of palm with that wonderful anchovy and lemon and oil dressing with a little bit of parsley will really bring out those flavors. It's very, very refreshing and delicious. Now, we're going to have to bring these into the dining room and present those to you. And while we do that, we'd like you to look at the recipes. Well, we have our Italian meal all prepared, and it brings back wonderful memories of a very dear lady, Madame Theresa Turci. The eggplant lasagna, layers of eggplant fried with the lasagna and the two sauces, and then gratineed in the oven with Parmesan cheese on top. It is so delicious and so flavorful. You're really going to enjoy this one. We did the tuna lasagna not too long ago, and everybody seemed to like that one, but I think you're going to enjoy this one. And to make a nice accompaniment to this rather rich dish, we have the hearts of palm with the anchovy and lemon juice and olive oil as a dressing. And then we're going to finish it off with a sweet tooth, and that is the beautiful strawberries. And I might add, they're Florida strawberries. And we have sugar and Marsala wine to marinate those strawberries. Very Italian. Now, this is fun. We're going to serve a little bit of this. Now, while we were in the kitchen before we came to the dining room, we divided this in half and then in 4 parts to give 8 servings. It's very large servings. You might want to cut it in smaller pieces. However, I guarantee you, everybody will certainly eat one nice big serving. Let's see if I can get this one out of here and put that onto my plate. And you can see the layers of eggplant and lasagna and the cheese and the tomato. It's just fantastic, delicious. And then we're going to take a little bit of the salad alongside a couple of pieces of hearts of artichoke with that dressing. And then later we will, of course, flavor our whole meal with the wonderful strawberries. Now, I thought a little red wine was appropriate with this because this is kind of a hearty meal. So I have a nice red, full-bodied, nice and dry, and we're going to enjoy this meal. It's one I hope you'll try. And if you do, let me hear from you and let me know what you think of it. We're going to enjoy it here. I hope you'll try this at home. In the meantime, a bientôt.
La douceur du temps nous fait des avances. Partez mes enfants, vous avez 20 ans, partez en vacances. Vous verrez agiles sur l'onde tranquille, les barques dociles au bras des amants. De fraîches guinguettes, des filles bien faites, les frites sont prêtes et y a du vin blanc.